We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Good afternoon, world. Good afternoon, world. This is Jania Butler, your host of the New American Perspective. We are here Wednesday, noonday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The New American Perspective. What's your perspective on this last week of everything that's going crazy in America right now? We got so much going on. We got so much to talk about. Let's get into it. So right now, Donald Trump shot, okay, an assassination attempt on the president, the former president Donald Trump's life last week, July 13th, at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. So now the Republican National Convention is going on in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now, and they're alive, their energy. But you know what? President Trump looks a little somber. He looks like he's tired. So if the goal was to wear him out, I think the assassination attempt might have done that. If you see, he's just kind of like, he's not his normal self. His fist is not pumping hard. He's more like, thank you, like he's tired. He has to be thinking so much stuff. I mean, we've seen a man who I call the Teflon Don go through everything that you could possibly go through. 2 impeachments. He's been, he's got 31 felony convictions. He's got a hush money guilty trial, a rape trial. But they just dismissed his documents case. They just dismissed that case. So they dismissed that. And then he's got the immunity piece. So he's not going to be going to jail for January 6th. So, good, bad, and ugly, because he just had an attempt on his life. So a lot of people were saying it's staged, and a lot of people were saying that there's a hoax. I don't think that it was staged per se, but I think that obviously somebody is behind it other than this lone shooter that we know nothing about, Thomas Matthew Crooks. So from Bethel, PA, you little 20-year-old. I'm not going for that. What is the 20-year-old doing in America right now? So now we're looking at this, and we're looking, and the Dems say that this is a time to come together. Okay. Now, if we're looking at what happens with the points, okay, with our point system, if we're looking at what happens with that, okay, then Donald Trump was up in the polls, right? Really high, because everybody was talking about Joe Biden to drop out of the race, right? So now Trump gets shot. It comes back down. So who do you think that it benefited? If Donald Trump was here a minute ago when the narrative was that Joe Biden is too old to run, and then he gets shot, and then Donald Trump is just up by a few points now. So I don't know. I think we'll never know. Maybe, our kids in the future, 30 years down the line, they will bring it out. But like I said, so much happened. So let's go into the RNC. So RNC is in Milwaukee. They nominated President Trump as the official nomination. He's got all the votes from the states that are in. They seem jubilee and happy. Sorry, I'm not out there. My good folks out in Milwaukee. So Amber Rose is the topic as well. Amber Rose, model, former Kanye West girlfriend, Wiz Khalifa girlfriend, she got on stage and talked about her love for President Trump and the Republican Party and how she was steered astray. Van Jones was quoted as saying that this is a dangerous moment in the Republican National Convention, and because Amber Rose is an unlikely person, but somebody that is a everyday citizen that sees the rhetoric that goes on in the Democratic Party and has pledged Republican, pledged MAGA. And so I think that's great. So big shouts out to Amber Rose for having courage and having a stand up and knowing that our communities needed to hear someone of color, someone we recognize and that understand what's going on, that she is definitely in the mix. And so, we've heard from Byron Donalds. There was, it was very interesting. The people that they were bringing out, they brought out a lieutenant of a police force, and they were back the blue, back the blue, back the blue. Did you see it? So they were out there backing the blue and, talking about how Trump backs the blue. And then it was a funny part because he said, well, these criminals over there, they're not going to. And then he had to realize that, no matter what you want to say, Trump is a criminal at this point. He's criminally convicted. He's a convicted felon at this point. So I don't know. Do you call him a criminal or not? But he kind of stopped himself when he said it, but then he went along with it because, to them it's fake news, even him getting convicted of the 31 counts. So that was a lot that was going on. So they talk about the black unemployment rate, and I want to talk about that too. We want to talk about black unemployment versus entrepreneurship and things of that nature. Now, I think you literally need to be having a conversation about entrepreneurship and businesses that are making money and contributing to the America's bottom line. Because I think that's where we go as a community and we start to say, yes, this is where we're at. Yes, we are entrepreneurs. Yes, we are businesses. And so you can't count us in black unemployment because we're not looking for jobs. So black unemployment is the lowest. No, let me tell you how unemployment works. Unemployment works in a time frame. That in that time frame, they measure the people that are eligible for unemployment benefits. Okay, so during this time, it's 4%, right? So once those people drop out of the unemployment benefits and they no longer are saying I'm unemployed, meaning going into the system and say that I'm unemployed and do the whole little question answer. Did you work this week? Did you do this? Did you do that? Instead of doing all of that, these people are not doing it. So those people are not counted. So that forecast of unemployment, and I'm sure the Dems know how to do this to the 10th power because I worked in city government and, I worked all over, and it's a numbers game and it's about padding those numbers. The numbers, if you go deeper into the numbers are not going to look at. So let's look at somebody saying what the numbers are and what we feel like. My problem in this election is they want us, the Dems want us to go along with the numbers. Oh, the numbers say that Biden has done more and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Biden has done this and Biden has done that. Yes, he has done the things that he's saying that he's done. But is it a feel good? If I don't feel good in America, if you are lowering the price for diabetes medicine, but raising the price of gas, Okay, raising the price of food. Don't tell me that that's acceptable exchange. It's not, because all of us don't have diabetes. All of us don't have all of the other things that you did that were good. And we want to feel good in America. We want to be free in America. We do not want to be hogtailed down to any of your information or any of your things that you're saying. We want to feel good. Okay, in America today. And that means that we want to be free to travel. You know, the prices of the airlines were good. The gas was good. We want to be able to get out. We don't want to be here saying, well, we got to toe the line because we want to let all these other people in, and then we got to pay more taxes for them. And no, Americans want to feel good. Americans want to be able to chase the American dreams with nothing holding them back. Is that okay? Is that okay for everybody in America? And, you know, I know that since I've been on, you know, we've been talking and I've been talking to different people and people that are chiming in. So please chime in because I'm listening. And we talk about black and white a lot, right? But what about everybody else? Right? And then I started thinking, is it you, Jania? Is it you just talking about the black and white? And I'm like, no, it's not just me. The black vote and the popular American vote are the two votes they talk about. Now, the reason why they're always talking about the black vote is because the black vote has been so concrete with the Democratic Party. It has been furniture in the Democratic Party. So now what happens when you move furniture? If I decide to come in and move all the furniture out this room, the room becomes empty. Empty. And that's what would happen if the black folks leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party depends on black folks and depends on trying to serve black folks different programs and initiatives and keeps the violence and everything going on and around the black community so they keep their jobs. And that is horrible. So let's look at this. What about the Asian community? What are you thinking? Right? Do you feel like you are a citizen of the United States? Do you feel like you are part of this political process? What about the Hispanics? Now, Hispanics is a big number in politics, but still kind of quiet in this election. What about the Indian population in this election? Why are we not hearing from other folks in the process? It's because black people are the only group that votes concentrated towards one direction. So good, bad, it could be good and it could be bad. It's good if, you know, we're voting in one block and we want to get a certain person in. It's bad now when we're now thinking different, because what I'm realizing about the Democratic Party is that they're focusing on a certain class of black individuals because they don't care anything about felons, you know, oh, this felon that's going to the White House. What if somebody else was going to the White House and was a felon and had a felony? You're allowed to have a felony and be the president of the United States. That's law. So what do we do about that, and why? What do we have to say about it? Okay, let me look into some stuff because we had so much to talk about today. So while the RNC is in Milwaukee, President Biden went to visit the NAACP in Las Vegas for their conference. So again, look at the stark distractions. Trump over here, I'm over here with the black people making sure that we protect their minds and they can't hear what's going on. Okay. Most black folks are like, I don't want to vote for either. What does everybody else say? I want to hear from you and your culture and how you feel. Do you feel like you are being represented anywhere across the country when they're talking about policies, when they're talking about all these things? Joe Biden also sat down on NBC and talked about his last week comments, talked about the president and how they all kind of took a ceasefire amongst each other, if you will. And so President Biden said, I spoke to President Trump and he's doing well. We don't want all of this. So the interviewer, he said, well, last week you said we need to put a bullseye on Trump's head. Do you think that that's stoking anything? He says, oh, no. I meant, he said he meant something else. He said, no, but you said a bullseye. And he said, no, I didn't mean it like that. But I think that's the same thing that President Trump was saying about January 6th, was he didn't mean it that way. And the people picked up and ran with it. And so why isn't everybody in the same way jumping on President Biden and ready to put him in jail for saying put a bullseye on Trump's head and then he got shot? So it's just so many different ways and around and abouts. But then Biden got real rough and he was like, oh, you're not talking about all the 28 lies that President Trump told. So why are you coming at me like that? I mean, he got down at him. He got a little angry. I think Biden in his older age, you know how older people get angry and they get real vicious. And when their dementia starts kicking in, he started saying that. And he was like, look, stop asking me about that and stop asking me. And the guy said, well, look, these are true facts. President Biden, what are you going to do about it? President Biden said he was going to stop stoking everything, but it was a point your finger. So when we come back, we're going to talk about everything else great that went on this week. Great and crazy. So when we come back here on Millennium News 24, we're going to talk about everything else. So stay tuned. I'll see you soon. Join me, Jania Butler, for the New American Perspective every Wednesday at 12 noon for an in-depth look of education, politics, economics, and entertainment from Republican and conservative views. The first of its kind on the Millennium News 24 and the Millennium TV 24 network. We will conceptualize and debate the rights and wrongs of the society, and together we will build the new American perspective and share it with the rest of the world. You can tune in on all iOS and Android platforms, branded smart TVs, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. If you're around the world, Horizon Satellite. If you're in Europe or Australia, the Sky Network. Tune in to MillenniumNews24.com or MillenniumTV24.com. All social media, Millennium News 24. We're live and have the podcast at the same time. I am a citizen, and this is our perspective. we're back with the New American Perspective. I'm your host, Jania Butler, and this is our Wednesday Newsday hour where we talk about the raw, unfiltered, uncut of what's happening in American politics. We talked about the Republican National Convention, and they had, all of their top speakers there, including hip hopper Amber Rose. She represented for us. Thank you, Amber. Let's talk about Ron DeSantis and the people who were so anti-Trump. Now, here's another thing that I can't get over with politics. 1 minute, right? When I'm in competition with you, I'm going to find all your dirt and tear you down. This happened with President Biden and Vice President Harris too. I'm going to find every little piece of dirt about you, and I'm going to get it, and I'm going to get up there and say it. And then when I have to concede, then this is the part that I don't like. Then I have to bow down to the next person. Okay? I have to bow down. Okay? So now Ron DeSantis, who was also a presidential candidate, he got on, and Ron hasn't been right. Ron was the presidential hopeful. And this is how hard the Black community can hurt you. Because Ron was a presidential hopeful in the beginning, right? He's got that look. Florida, everybody's flocking. Every Republican is flocking to Florida. If a Republican doesn't have a house in Florida, they got a place to stay in Florida. And we know that Republican is a state. Shout out to Ron DeSantis for that. Okay. But then Ron, he actually lost it, right? He started doing, I think he got a little too hype, and he hasn't been right since. He used to have, the smile. He's got those sparkling blue eyes, and, he's debonair. And they say politicians need to look good because that's what people appeal to, a nice looking person, right? So, okay, Ron got pretty much it all. He's young. He was the next up. But see, Ron DeSantis would be good for Republican America only. Okay. I do not think that he sees both sides of the coin, or all sides of the coin. Let me say that. Now, Ron being out in Florida, he did some things. The NAACP actually put out an advisory for Black folks in America who travel through Florida to beware because of the cops and things of that nature in Florida, because of the cops and the racism. Now, that's crazy. Now, I'm sure that the NAACP didn't do that, to spite anyone. I think that, and nothing has happened as a result. So that's good. So that's a good thing. Now, but Ron, he also had a lot of controversy around his education platform and taking different parts of the curriculums out, no LGBT stuff. He wanted to take out some Black studies. In one of the books, they said slavery was actually good. We can't go with that, right? Some things that just need to be unsaid. What they were saying was that during slavery, slaves learned trades and learned how to be carpenters like we couldn't learn in any other way, right? And that they pushed forward. We didn't need that in the textbook, that, these were the good things that come out of slavery, that they got good skills from working with, other people. Maybe we were teaching the other people what to do. Huh? Okay. So I just don't think that he's been right since then. But at the RNC, he definitely big Trump up, and he said the reason why we need him now. And how do you believe any of these people if he just went way out of his way? He went way out of his way to to go ahead and to do it. Sorry. He went way out of his way, to do it. And then so we also Nikki Haley stayed in that presidential race. Go girl. She stayed in that presidential race till the very end, didn't she? Until they was like, look, Nikki, you gonna have to pop out and you gonna have to, really just drop out this race because we're going to nominate Trump. Now, she wasn't a quitter, but you know what I liked about her speech? She went up there and she didn't lie. She was like, listen, we might not agree on everything. We might not see eye to eye here and there, but he's the best man for the job that we got out here right now. She didn't take back the things that she said. She said, we go toe to toe, we go bat to bat all the time. We go toe to toe, we go back to back all the time. Okay? But we can agree to disagree, and that all our things are not together. And when she served as the ambassador, she said, I served under Trump and I saw what he did. And, I'll go with it, Nikki. How do you feel about that? I just don't like when you have to turn around and do it, but you have to do it. Another thing that I heard them say, they're big on this DEI, division. Look, and I'm about to repeat what they're saying. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what DEI is. That's what they're talking about with DEI. Now, DEI, they've got these DEI hires. Basically, it's, another extension of affirmative action. And so diversity, equality, and inclusion, right? So they want your workforce to be diverse. They want your workforce to be equal, and they want you to be included. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But see, they've got these hires. So now a congressman went on after the President Trump assassination attempt and said, and he said this, and it was a Republican senator, a congressperson, I think. And they said, it's because of these DEI hires. You've seen the women and the black people that were there. That's why. Oh, silky. What? Now, I'm not going for that, congressperson. Okay? This is what we're talking about. If you could say that these people are DEI hires, and you don't even know if they're DEI hires. You just saying that anybody of color is DEI, a woman is DEI. That's crazy. But I'll tell you what, when Trump walked through the RNC Convention Center, there wasn't no women in that line, ladies. There wasn't no little women, looking all disheveled and discombobulated, walking the president in there, and they look like a little rolling assembly line. Everything is hyped up now. Now he's not going to be able to engage and interact with people the way that he was, and President Biden said that as well. So the Republicans are calling DEI division, exclusion, and indoctrination. Yeah. Division, exclusion, and indoctrination. And what are they saying? See, I understand where they're coming from. They're coming from a place where we're saying, hey, this is open for anybody. We want to hire the best candidate, not the one black candidate that comes through, not the one woman that comes through. We want to hire the best candidate for the job because they worked hard all their lives. Great. That's what we want too. But the problem is Republicans, and I'm talking to Republicans now. The problem is that when you say that, and when you say out of your own eyes that you're looking for the best and the brightest of the world, the best and the brightest to you looks like you. So this is why affirmative action needed to be in place. Not because we wanted an extra handout, not because we wanted your help and we need this, not because of that. It's because it's true that if we leave it up to you, you will only hire your own. So now you tell me how we fix that. You tell me how I can be assured that anybody that you hire will be able to see through all those things and will hire minorities, will hire women. How can we be sure of that? Because we're not sure. The man just said that the problem was the DEI. Why is that the first thing out the? So basically, what the Republicans want to do is they want to eliminate the DEI divisions and DEI jobs. Now they've gotten big. Okay, they've gotten big, and they probably have to spend a lot of money on it. And again, so just say that you want to work with the people of your kind, and that's it. Just say that. But don't say that, oh, everything is equal, and why should they want anything? We want a piece of the American dream. That's what we want. That's all we want. We don't want to bother you. We don't want you to bother us. We want low taxes. We want to build our family. We want to do all those things too. So how can you make sure that that's what's going to happen with us? That's all we're asking. So don't down the DEI unless you have another alternative to how you're going to make sure the people who look out of those eyes like you do, those pretty blue eyes. Y'all got some pretty blue eyes over there too. I see some eyes. I'm like, oh, these Republicans, they sure got some mighty blue eyes. So we'll come back. We're going to have our guest out from Milwaukee and going to tell us what it's like down there on the ground in Milwaukee and what's happening out in Milwaukee today. Mike McGee, former city council out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, will be on with us shortly. So we'll be right back on Millennium News 24. This is the New American Perspective, and I'm your host, Jania Butler. Join me, Jania Butler, for the New American Perspective every Wednesday at 12 noon for an in-depth look of education, politics, economics, and entertainment from Republican and conservative views. The first of its kind on the Millennium News 24 and the Millennium TV 24 network. We will conceptualize and debate the rights and wrongs of the society, and together we will build the New American Perspective and share it with the rest of the world. You can tune in on all iOS and Android platforms, branded smart TVs, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. If you're around the world, Horizon Satellite. If you're in Europe or Australia, the Sky Network. Tune in to MillenniumNews24.com or MillenniumTV24.com. All social media, Millennium News 24. We're live and have the podcast at the same time. I am a citizen, and this is our perspective. And we're back with the New American Perspective. So what do you guys think? What are you thinking? What do you think about the DEI? Diversity, diversity, equality, and inclusion. We need to be included, people, no matter what. So they were also talking about, a lot of people, they were talking about what the Republicans want out of people in voting is to be a citizen, right? You should be a citizen for a vote, right? You should be a citizen. You should be a citizen, have a photo ID, right? So now let's talk about that really quick. So in America, there's a big debate of whether migrants can vote, or people, undocumented people, can vote in elections. What are we talking about? So if a felon who at some point in their life participated in the American culture, taxes, or anything, cannot vote in a lot of states. In a lot of states, felons can vote. So look into your state to see if you can vote, former felons. How can you ask a migrant, or how can you ask us to allow these people who are flushing in under a Democratic regime, right? Republicans, we don't want the border wide open, and nobody should want the border wide open. Who is coming into the country illegally? Maybe some criminals, maybe some people that we don't even know what kind of crime these people do. You know, in America, we know lock our door, lock our windows, all these things. We don't know if these people know how to do different stuff. We don't know what kind of crime that they're going to inflict on us. And there's people coming across the border. Don't say all of these are good people coming across. Don't say that, because it's not true. So one thing is to be a citizen, definitely to vote, because again, if the Democrats let all the migrants in and then say, migrants, here, you can vote. You don't have to be a citizen yet. Who are they going to vote for? Come on now, right? Then have a photo ID. Now, I was at an event and we jostled back and forth, and I'm like, well, who wouldn't have a photo ID? Why wouldn't somebody have a photo ID to go to vote? You know, to prove who they are next to your signature. You're just supposed to go, they show you the signature, and then you need to write the signature in when you're voting, right? When you get your little voter card to go into the booth. So most people have an ID. But then when I asked, why would Black people be fighting for us to not need ID to vote? And they said, you know, some of our communities, they don't have ID. They don't have enough money to get an ID. You know, I think the only ID, you know, that people may have or don't have is that a lot of people don't have their license. We know that. So now they've got these ID cards. I'm not sure that there's a lot of people who don't have ID. I'm sure that there's some, but I'm sure that person is not voting either. So the people that are voting, I believe that they should have an ID, because I'm running for office. I want to know that the person, just like everything else that we do, get on a plane. I can't get on a plane without no ID. I can't go nowhere else. I can't even get into a club to drink some alcohol without ID. But I could pick the president and say that I am who I am without ID. You need an ID for everything. So I think that we can come up with an ID. But this is the fight. This is the fight that we're having, people. Then the Dems say we don't have ID and we can't afford one. And so that was something that DeSantis was saying in his conversation. And I thought those are points that I should bring up today. Now, again, I want you to go back. I want you to check out Trump. And I want you to look and see if you've ever seen him this way. He's melancholy. He's glum. He looks like he's very tired. They call him napping. And it's just like, if somebody really tried to take his life, then what are we really talking about and what are we really discussing? He looks sad. And I want to send some energy out to President Trump and let him know that we do see the struggle that he's going through. But here's what I want to say too, on behalf of all communities, is that everything that you've been through, the justice system, you saw how there's two justice systems. And in those justice systems, there's a fine line in them. If they want you to be innocent, you'll be innocent. If they want you to be guilty, you'll be guilty. I find that in my community, we're on that guilty side. We're a large amount of the prison population, only 14% of the American population, about 60% of the prison population. So how does that work? So obviously, we're looking at two different things. And we have someone coming on, a gentleman coming on, Mike McGee, who I'm glad that he's coming on, because he'll be able to talk to us a lot about this. And we'll see, to the extent for it. So as we get ready for Mike to come on, let's talk about more what they talked about on the RNC. So they talked about open borders. So there was a young lady. Oh, this was good. So they threw a lady up there. She had blonde hair. She was cute. She came up, but she came up talking about the open borders and the death of her son. She said the open borders caused the death of my son. She said her son got one dose of fentanyl and died. And she blames the Biden administration for that. So, she was tough. I didn't get her name. But she definitely was really, really strong on everything that was going on. She was like, wow, she blew me away when she talked about fentanyl. And we have to think about that. If a group of people, okay, are coming across the border and we know that they're trafficking fentanyl and now putting fentanyl in the drugs, and we know America has a serious drug problem, okay? But maybe somebody is saying, we want America to be on prescription drugs, paid prescription drugs. So we want to poison these drugs on the street. And so people won't use the drugs on the street and then use the prescription drugs. It is crazy, I know. But this right here, there's always casualties of war. And we have to really look at, and we have to raise our babies in a way that is sustainable and susceptible to everything that's going on, right? So rest in peace to that young lady's son, and I'm sorry to hear that. Then another guy from South Philly, he came on and he talked about, he was from South Philly. Shout out South Philly, shout out Eagles, shout out Philadelphia Eagles. He came on, he talked about the fentanyl epidemic in Kensington, and we talk a good game. We talk a good game in America, but it's a money game. People, their money, power, respect. The locks, 30-year anniversary of the locks, by the way. So we talk money, power, and respect, but what does that mean at the end of the day? I'm not sure. I think my guest, I don't see him, is on in the StreamYard. Let me just make sure. Join me, Jania Butler, for the New American Perspective every Wednesday at 12 noon for an in-depth look of education, politics, economics, and entertainment from Republican and conservative views. The first of its kind on the Millennium News 24 and the Millennium TV 24 network. We will conceptualize and debate the rights and wrongs of the society, and together we will build the new American perspective and share it with the rest of the world. You can tune in on all iOS and Android platforms, branded smart TVs, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. If you're around the world, Horizon Satellite. If you're in Europe or Australia, the Sky Network. Tune in to MillenniumNews24.com or MillenniumTV24.com. All social media, Millennium News 24. We're live and have the podcast at the same time. I am a citizen, and this is our perspective. And we are back. I'm not sure if our StreamYard is in process. Let me just make sure. So anyway, so let's go back. Let's go back to where we are. So another chant for the Republican at the Republican convention was Joe must go. Joe must go. Joe must go. That was their chant. So they are going hard out there in the paint. They are going so hard out there in the paint. And so now I want to hear from you. So we're here every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The New American Agenda. Oh, is that you, Mike McGee?
Yes, 1 2 1 2. I've been here.
Hey, how are you?
I had to chat with you. Okay.
Good. So Mike McGee is out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've been out there. He's been my host out in Milwaukee. I met him in Milwaukee, a namesake and a legend in the Milwaukee community. Nothing happens in Milwaukee if it doesn't go through the McGee family. Am I right, Mike?
No, it's a lot of bad things happening in Milwaukee that don't come through us. So anything good.
Talk about the good stuff. I'm talking about that good stuff. So tell us a little bit about you, Mike. Tell us a little bit about what's happening and what's going on and out there in Milwaukee. Tell us about you first, and that the fact that you have been in politics and everything that's going on.
Yeah, well, I'm a former alderman or city councilman, as you would say, on the East Coast. And I'm a father. Right now, I'm training my daughter. Her name is Josie. She's, she made it into. She knows who you are too. She said she's kind of short for the rebound leader, but I said no. She's. You know about you.
I'm big, Josie. Tell her I get big in the heart.
Yeah. So Josie, she right there.
Baby.
So she made it to the Junior Olympics in the 100 meters. So we training to go to in the next 2 weeks to go to North Carolina A&T, one of the historically black colleges.
Nice. Congratulations, little lady.
So what's going on in Milwaukee is a lot of negativity. Of course, we lead in the nation, and so it's like a little Chicago here.
Really?
So you have the areas that you can come to in the city, and everybody think it's a really nice city. But if you really go into the neighborhoods, as in most metropolitans, you're going to find some of the most negative indicators that you see out here, from the high crime, the poverty, the low lack of education, all of the usual things that's happening in most of the metropolitans. It's a big microcosm in Milwaukee. Failed education system, really failed. When you look at the school board here, it's just a big mess where they passed a referendum and only one person went against it, and then she got indicted. A school board representative getting indicted. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Because she didn't live in the district supposedly, but her name is Aisha Carr, and we all voted for a $250 million referendum to increase the budget for the city or for the school board, and then found out a month later after the election that they owed so much money or so many reports to the state of Wisconsin that we're gonna lose $50 million. So there's a big recall election going on there. That's gonna probably gain national attention if it ever comes to fruition. But going into the Republican convention, just a lot of negativity going on with the young man that was shot, Mr. Sharp, Samuel Sharp, that was shot and killed by about 5 Columbus off-duty officers that came.
Now, when was this?
That was yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah, it made national news. You didn't know that happened?
No. So wait, yesterday.
Yeah, you just happened to talk. You didn't know that. So when you contacted me, I thought you knew that. Yeah, this is big news. He was shot right outside. He was shot at Martin Luther King Park, which is about 6 blocks away from the perimeter of the convention. But the officers were off duty that were assigned to Wisconsin, and it's a big mess. So I didn't know you didn't know that. But that's really what's going on in Milwaukee right now.
Wow.
So it's a big protest.
So in addition to the convention, so they're protesting outside of the convention.
Already was protesting, but a homeless individual who had mental health issues, he was fighting with somebody who had a knife, and these off-duty officers told him to drop the weapon, and he turned around and was surprised that there were officers there, and he didn't drop them, and he didn't come after anybody, but the reports are saying that he was after an individual, and they just all unloaded on him. So that's a big issue right now.
And so the security that was from the national convention, these off-duty officers, or was it from the fact that the RNC is there?
So it's a big problem. Training, that area was a lot of homeless people live in that area. You know what they do in these conventions is they move all the poverty out so nobody sees that. So these individuals were in their own area, but it's right outside the convention. And these officers were having some kind of discussions or training themselves, and they encountered this situation. And now there's a big protest saying all these officers need to go home and get out of our city because they don't know what's going on in the ground level to do something so insensitive as to, somebody pulling a knife out and you got a gun, you can use tasers, all types of things, but they just came into the situation without knowing what fully was going on. And so the people that live in that area were really upset because they saw this happen, and they felt it was a murder because this individual would have dropped the knives, but he didn't even get a chance to do that. They just unloaded on him. So it's a really big issue, and you should see it in the national news.
I'll definitely. I can't believe I missed that on my way in today. That's crazy, and I'm glad. So I'm glad that that we've got you on. This is the real truth of it. I said that doesn't nothing go through Milwaukee without you. And then let's go back to a few days before, after the attempted assassination of President Trump. What are your thoughts? And that they're coming into your town. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the RNC being there?
I thought it was going to be a good opportunity to showcase. Just from me to you, I'm talking to you because I know that you have those viewpoints, and they are legitimate viewpoints to be in the Republican team. Mm-hmm. But I thought that it was going to be good to show some diversity in the politics here, right? Mm-hmm. And politics, what we all are doing in reference to this two-party system. I keep getting these. I'm trying to stop these messages. But the two-party system, just to show people, hey, this is what the other viewpoint is, close up and personal. And then the economic impact the convention would have on a city such as Milwaukee with all the negative connotations I've been bringing up, and none of that's come to fruition. Even me as a business owner, it was not really a welcoming aspect of the conventions to bring in the people of color
So
businesses.
they're
There are
not going out and
no, no,
out
not
shopping in the community and spending
no.
their
I
money.
think there's a fear, especially after that attempted assassination. There's more fear, and I think the city's trying to embrace the mayor here. They are trying to embrace the tourists and say, hey, come out, have a good time. So the individuals that are outside the perimeter, it's like a bubble, is what you have to look at it like. The bubble, anybody that's inside the bubble that's near the Bucks Stadium, which is Fiserv, where the Bucks play at, yeah, you probably can see economic impact, but there's no economic impact in other areas right
They're
outside
not
of this.
going in there. They're going straight to their
No,
hotel and then straight to the
yeah,
convention.
and I think
Hmm.
it has a reverberating effect from what happened with Trump, with that attempted murder of Trump, and I think from that perspective, what also is happening is people don't notice their actions on both sides is really creating like a Confederate versus a Union type of situation where
Mm,
this
mm.
country's gonna be divided. Where us in the middle, black folks gonna have to decide, and people of color gonna have to decide which side of two opposing white arguments they're on, because that's what it's looking like. That from me,
Right.
that's what I see coming, is that Trump is like, up, fight, 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 and they're like, well, fight who? And so it's like they're gonna be fighting each other, and then we are gonna be stuck in the middle of this and have to decide where we are in a divided country. That's where we're going.
And so now Milwaukee is a battleground. I mean, Wisconsin is a battleground state, correct? And
Definitely. Right.
so that means that you guys are swaying. I don't think you guys were one of the states that were swaying more Republican, went from swing to leaning.
I
Where
think
I'm not sure.
the state was kind of purple, but Milwaukee in particular is Democratic stronghold. But Trump and the Republican Party have made some kind of inroads to affect that. So then it's going to come down to Milwaukee, whether Milwaukeeans come out and vote, because black people in particular, we always want to go against something. We have to have something to go against. It's not we're for Trump, but it's like going against what the Democrats have done as well, their policies and their lack of energy towards the black community only when it's time for voting. And then Joe Biden is not a strong candidate. I'm just being honest with it. I'm leaning towards third party. I'm leaning towards Cornel West before I go with Joe Biden.
But okay, so but you know that Cornell can't win. So are you just doing that just to make a point? Just to say that you voted.
Not to say I voted, but it's also you are voting for the winner when it's only a two-party system, but you also have to take a stand. Like I'm going to just keep giving my vote to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party if they're not going with the needs of my individual opinions or my ideology. So you have to make a decision, and I think thousands of people are going to do that. It's going to be a stance made, but I don't think the Democratic Party is going to get all the votes that they thought they were going to get. I believe Trump's going to win. I do believe that. I believe that.
And so what will it take? I'm getting some inside edition stuff before we cut out for the week. But what will it take for the voters in Milwaukee, and what do the voters in Milwaukee need from the Republican Party to go from leaning to the vote?
I think the Republican Party have to come into the neighborhoods and really develop a relationship. Like there's a Republican office that's right on King Drive, which is a King Drive in any city is an urban area, but they're not reaching out. They don't have any events where people are coming from the neighborhood. People are crashing through the window or breaking the windows and putting graffiti on it sometimes on the building. But there's not a real relationship. So if they create a real relationship, talk about the economics, because the Republican Party does have some ideological similarities to the black community. Some of the conservative views we do embrace, and you wouldn't even be in the Republican Party if it wasn't the case. There's not genuine people like you. Like if you have some genuine people like me and you involved in the Republican Party, people will see it different. That's really what it is. Have this generation.
Great.
They need to come see. They need to come see somebody like me or somebody in the community.
We coming. Look, I'm going to take you up on that. I talked to Tony Neal. I talked to Tony Neal, and we're ready to get on the ground over there. So Mike, tell us a little bit about your business before we go out, and thank you so much for joining the New American Perspective and giving us your perspective today. But tell us a little bit about your business out there in Milwaukee. And so my fans out in Milwaukee, make sure you go check Mike McGee and tell us a little bit about it.
414 Hemp. I'm the founder of 414 Hemp, and I'm actually one of the pioneers of the whole hemp movement, the cannabis movement in Milwaukee since 2018. So if people want to reach me, they can reach me on Facebook at Mike McGee Jr. And that's a good way, or join the 414 Hemp page on Facebook. The number 414 in hemp, and we go from there.
All right, and they got all kinds of rubs, make you feel good, everything.
And the real deal, I'm saying,
I gotta get some
farm
stuff.
bill. The farm bill made it where you can do the real deal now. So that's what can be cut out.
Yes, so
everything's progressed since we first came to you.
Thank you
so
much.
For calling me, and for you, I'm going to do it. You're a legend. Legendary, not just basketball and everything you're doing. You're a pioneer. So keep it going. So hope to hear back from you.
All right. Appreciate you. Right. So that is our show for today, good people. Thank you for joining us on the New American Perspective on Millennium News 24. We will see you next week.
Peace.